potentially working about, you know, a good product in time with quality and that kind of thing.
I think what we'd like to see as a company next year, we have another year now, we were 1 year old in September. So we're looking at how can we, if we were a company that joined all these things together, had the financial people in the same company, sitting side by side with the architects and the engineers, we can involve the engineers. What happens when architects and financiers appreciate how each other think? And then, you know, it changes design. You can use the financiers to change the design, but not in a sort of bad way. Often it's seen like you're taking everything out of the design. But in fact, it actually adds an interest to the design process. I think that's where we are now, trying to sort of like looking at, okay, how can we get somebody or some people in-house to look at, you know, how we can sort of finance these projects for ourselves. What happens if you build the projects yourself rather than having a client? I mean, if you have a client, you're answering to them. So shifting from sort of like combining architecture, development and financing in the same company, hopefully. That's where we are. And the next slide is our latest project, which I can't talk much about, but we're looking forward to it. That's it.
It's potentially got a value of about $300 million, so could be quite an. And we've also, strangely enough, been given the opportunity to try and put together a team for it, which is how we pitched for it. You know, we said, well, we're not going to design it just. We want to try and, you know, we want to try this, and we might have the opportunity. So that's it. Thank you very much.
With this, you'll be learning IRRs and equity multiples, I take it, as part of your normal vocabulary?
The thing is not us learning everything. I'm sure it's more about getting the right people into the team, really. You know, we know I can't do maths to save my life, you know, so I really can't. It's getting the right people, I think. So. Is your one on here?
Yes, it's right there.
Are there any further questions, by the way?
Sorry.
Any other questions? No. Guess not. Let's see. Should we?
So I make no apologies for that from the outset. We're coming at this issue, I guess, from completely different perspectives, not just in terms of scale of organisations, but also in age. We're 95 years old, we're 3,000 people, and we sell money. We don't sell a product. What we sell is value, and we seek to create better value for our clients, and for some time have sought to be engaged through value-based fees. Very, very similar to the concept of, you know, create some condos, therefore we take those condos for our fees, so I would say that's sweat equity. The concept for us has been, rather than being paid on an hourly basis, which we, you know, a good proportion of our business, maybe half would still be, but the other percentage would be based on value, the value that we create for our clients. It's a completely different perspective. The equity participation that I'm talking about here is real equity, is cash, as opposed to sweat equity, but it's also equity in a partnership between the client and the provider. So roughly, that's the process of what I'm going to talk through. I'll get into it to make sure we get there. I might limit the case studies to very quick snapshots, just to catch up a bit of time there. I'm unashamedly going to talk about the public sector, because I think that's probably where there's the biggest opportunity for equity participation by designers and by consultants in the industry. Because actually the pull is coming from the clients. Whereas with commercial property developers, they want that because that's why they're in business, is to get the value out of what they create. Maybe with corporate real estate clients, you know, I don't know, maybe Pfizer, maybe Boots, maybe Marks and Spencers would see the same benefits that the public sector is now seeing and that the Treasury is clearly pushing. But you can see that the whole landscape is changing. Now, as a business, we have responded to that changing dynamics because we saw them very early on as a risk to our business. You know, the EC Harris economy, I guess, to a lot of it is based on lots of people doing lots of things and getting paid X pounds per hour or X dollars per hour for doing it. The other half of the business is created very much on the back of the intellect and the value you create. But there is endless challenge to that. So we need to find new ways of becoming sticky around our clients, new ways of keeping our people so they become sticky around us, and to deal with the ever-changing pressures of the business. So this diagram here is an attempt to try and capture those issues and the fundamental issues to our business. I won't go through a lot of them, but there are a lot of issues there, and the numbers are, a lot of those numbers are there to provoke concepts, and some of them are slightly larger than you might imagine. Like but all the organisations around will be challenged by those. I guess the fundamental issue is we can't just stand still. We can't just expect that people will come to us because we're large. We can't just expect that people will come to us because we're capable. What we've had to do is to continually change the way we engage with our clients and continually change the way in which we give opportunity to our people. And the sexiness of equity participation and being closer to the creator of the idea, closer to the money, actually is a big turn on to a lot of people. Just to put it in its rawest sense, it's a very emotive issue. You aren't part of the supply chain, you aren't a commodity, you're actually part of the creation, part of the solution. And that not only creates value and creates wealth for our own people, it actually keeps our people with us because they're part of that intellect, part of the creation of the solution. Now back a few years ago, 2001, we pretty arrogantly, I guess, looked at what was going on in the market and said where we thought we were relative to other people. And that's fairly, I think, actually objectively captured here. We were doing things that were completely different. We were way out there. Probably the vast majority of the UK market probably just saw us as being a QS. And, you know, true, we're the largest QS in the country still. We're the second largest building surveyor. We're the fourth largest project manager and about the 20th largest engineers in UK construction. So, you know, yes, those numbers are still valid, but we were doing things differently. We had been the first business to go into FM, first of our type to go into FM. We had done a number of other deals where value and the reward were based on what we had created, which was quite different. A few years later, 3 years later, the business had moved on. Our competitors had moved on. And actually, the engineers, most of all, were the ones that were threatening us. You know, an awful lot, like people like Atkins and so forth, had really, really come on. I'm going to avoid using too many stereotype names, and I'm just using them as an example, not specifically them. But you can imagine these organisations had really moved on. And the Bechtels and the Kellogg's and the Jacobs of this world, actually hugely capable and entering into risk-bearing deals all the time. But there are some other people coming in there as well. Yeah, I'm not going to read those out. You can read them for yourself. But people like Liberator, Liberator, however you want to say it. It's kind of Liberator, I think it's the way it's spelled. Business process outsourcing around public sector bodies, taking a lot of risk actually. Some of them doing some things that other people can't make money on, and some other people went into those. But these guys have the right approach. We wanted, again, to be above these, yeah, but we had fallen back. We'd fallen back down the value chain. Now, we recently looked at these issues again, and I guess we kind of identified a number of common themes there. These guys have become much smarter. they had a few things in common. They had vertical integration of their teams and their